What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at our next test. I'm just going to be breaking it up a little bit in terms of the videos of gameplay and scorecards. So the next, if you want to see any gameplay of me actually playing the games, the next game will be the Australian series. Unfortunately, I got a bit carried away and I played a few games off screen. I have recorded the results though, as you can see on the screen now. So we actually had a home series against the West Indies. We had just beaten England. We had just lost to England 3-1. We then had to play the West Indies in a 2-match test series over in South Africa a bit later in the year. I think it was November, might have been October. Unfortunately, we had a couple of injuries that came into the first test. For example, Ben Bryson, he couldn't play. He was injured and he was probably our form batsman over in England. We also started to give some new some debutants. There's a guy here you will see called Kirsten. Unfortunately, he turns out to be a bit of a donkey. No disrespect to him, but we brought him in to play in this first test. Unfortunately, again, we got really wrong done by the South African first class scene. They were only 2 games into their season, so I could not really go off anything. So what I did was I looked at the second day, or like the second 11 first class, where they play in their their district side. And this Kirsten fella was averaging like 150 for his second class side. So I didn't really have a lot of form to go off. So I just gave him a game. He was only, he's 22 now, but he was only 19, he was only 21 when I had selected him. He did fail. He only made 5. This bloke here, Cohen, he is a wicket keeper. He can keep, and he is a batsman. He is a really good player. I think he will be probably the next in line to replace Quinton de Kock. He is a lot. So far, he's a lot better batsman than Quinton de Kock is, though, and that really shows here. He did make 65 in his first ever innings. You see here, pretty much the top 4 is the same, except obviously 5 and 6 have Kirsten and Cohen. Wian Mulder, I think that was his top score at the time, 70. Played well in this test. And we gave Unrich Norji another go. For those who probably know him, he played a few tests last year, so last year in real life, so 2019. We gave him a go. He was the best bowler in the ODI format, and I thought I'd give him a go. We also had a bit of resistance from our tail, so Rabada and Ngidi did make some runs. They were also really good performers. So you see here that Rabada did make 41 and Ngidi made 25. Unfortunately, we did lose this test by 5 wickets. Aaron Joseph was West Indies' best bowler, where he took 6 for 73. We did make a respectable 314, which is probably a par score, or just above par on a South African wicket. We did, however, bowl the West Indies out for 236 in their first innings. And you see here Mulder took 4 for 44 and Rabada took 4 for 60. Unfortunately, after this, we just really capitulated. You will see that Roston Chase made 89 and Shea Hope made 56. Porter made 27, but we had a really good score here. To bowl them out for 236, we really should have won this test, but you see here we got bowled out for 153. Just a really poor performance in that second innings. Like, you look here, we lost. We were 4 for 97, and then we just completely lost it all. Look at that batting collapse. Kirsten 1, de Kock 4, Mulder 1, Norji George 5, Rabada 6, and Giddy 8. Just terrible. And then the West Indies only had to chase, I think, 232, and they got that quite easily. This was actually, I think they had about an hour to go. They chased this down really easy on the last day though. We just didn't really have anything to offer. We even injured one of their batsmen, Roston Chase, but unfortunately we really had nothing to offer. And that was pretty much that. We lost the first test 1-0. I wasn't really impressed, so we did also lose the second test by an absolute disgraceful margin. West Indies brought this new bloke in called Raja. I've never heard of him before, but he made 108. I believe he's probably new. They also brought in a few players like Harding and Christian Holder, or Christopher Holder. No relation to Jason Holder, that's his name. Craig Braithwaite. I find Craig Braithwaite really odd. I had a West Indies save once and he was really bad. He can last a lot of balls, but unfortunately when I had him he was not making big scores, but I encountered him in this save twice, especially in that first test, in the very first test of the save. He completely destroyed us. And we did have some standout performers like Rabada played well, 5 for 66 in the first innings, and Mulder again bowled really well, 3 for 41 off 22. Fortunately, the other bowlers bowled economically, but they didn't get any wickets. We look here. We made 275 in reply for their 288. Again, we got close to their score. Again, we had somewhat of a batting collapse. Oh yeah, that's right. We did bring in this guy called Exolin Crooks. He was a really young player. This is his first test. I did decide to drop Van Tonda. I brought in, I put Colin at the top of the order because he opens for his first class side. And then Ben Bryson also came back into the side. Pretty much I didn't change the bowlers though, when I couldn't really change them because they did bowl well in that last test. And again, West Indies were really good here. They bowled us out really clean. Then in the second inning, we just got completely killed. So the wicket was actually being really hard to... the indicator was telling me that the wickets was going to be very spin friendly, and especially on the fourth day when they were batting, it was very spin wicket friendly. Unfortunately, we did nothing though. We let them somehow make 409 in a second innings. I only bowled 4 bowlers because I had no one really else to bowl, and they all bowled fairly economically. We just couldn't get any wickets. Shea Hope again, he made 100. But look at this top order, 72, 56. Even Paran made 59, and I think he's got a test average of 33. And then of course in the last innings, when we had to play on the worst conditions, when the wicket was fully spin friendly, we just capitulated again. Crooks made 89 in his debut though. That was a really respectful innings. So I was really pleased by that innings. Hamza made 49, but yeah, again we had fails all round. Milan has never been the same player as he was in that last series, probably against, I think in the first 2 England tests, he was really good, and then he just drops off. But yeah, very disappointing performance. So we did lose that series 2-0, and I will see you guys for the Australian series, which is a 4-test series over in